Hey everyone, I'm Bertil Auris. Wave 2 of the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe Booster Course Pass has now been out for a little more than 2 months. And with Wave 3 being confirmed for a release in the holidays this year, it's safe to assume that we're now a little over the halfway point between the releases of these two waves. And most of us are pretty hyped. Predicting the upcoming waves has become a little easier as time goes by, as leaks have been revealed for each new wave release. With Wave 1, data miners were able to figure out all of the upcoming track prefixes, and they turned out to be true when Wave 2 was announced. And when that released, data miners were able to gather music prefetches of upcoming tracks, and their file names revealed their spots in the course roster. And with Wave 3's announcement in the September trailer, it basically confirmed that as well. Simply put, a lot of tracks have been data mined for the Booster Course Pass within the game's files. But there is still one category of tracks that there's no sign of any leaks for: the unlabeled new tracks. On one hand, the prefix leak told us where these original tracks would be, usually one per wave, except for Wave 6, which has 3. Originally, we thought they might just be placeholders, but with Wave 2 having an original track in that spot, we can assume that's not the case, no matter what I said in my Wave 3 to 6 prediction video. But what are these tracks? I mean, it's impossible to tell what they're going to be. Or is it? What if I told you they have been data mined as well, just not for Mario Kart 8? Unless you've been living under a rock, the original courses of the Booster Course Pass aren't really that original. They hail from Mario Kart Tour as Nitro tracks, but what sets them apart from the other Nitros of that game is the fact that they're not based around the city. Instead, they're more similar to tracks from mainline Mario Kart games in their layouts and lack of additional variants. And one of them has been steadily reappearing in every wave in Mario Kart 8. Wave 1 saw Ninja Hideaway, Wave 2 saw Sky High Sunday, and Wave 3 will see Merry Mountain. That begs us the question, what will the other 5 unlabeled tracks be?
Well, it's definitely not any of the tracks you predicted in your Wave 3 to 6 video. I mean, Ominous out back in Fruit Cup, why? Only because it's close to the Boomerang Cup?
Not now, Bertil Auris, I'm trying to make a video. Now, as I said, these original tracks have been data mined in Mario Kart Tour, not 8 Deluxe. As it turns out, there are 8 upcoming Nitro Mario Kart Tour tracks that have been data mined, and coincidentally enough, there are also 8 spots in the Booster Course Pass roster, reserved for unknown tracks, 3 cities and 5 originals. The file names of these tracks are MobYI, MobMD, MobMU, MobAT, MobOR, MobBR, MobMU, and finally MobDK. That sure is a lot of mobs. Wait, MobDK? We're getting another DK track? That's potentially gonna make up for 3 Donkey Kong courses in just one game.
Or it's just 3DS DK Jungle, you doofus.
It's not 3DS DK Jungle. That would have been a fair guess, considering 3DS DK Jungle has still not made an appearance in Mario Kart Tour. However, if it was 3DS DK Jungle, the file name would have been 3DS DK, not MobDK. Mob indicates a Nitro track, as in mobile. That was already proven with Sky High Sundays and Merry Mountain's file names. Now, I did say it was a DK track, but actually, we can't determine the names of these tracks from these file names alone. Sometimes we can. Bangkok Rush was similarly data mined before it was announced under the code name of MobBK, and well, that name ended up being accurate to the final result. But then you also had tracks like Merry Mountain, which were called MobHC for hill climb. But there is another way. From the names, we may only be able to take wild guesses, but if we take a look at the assets that were data mined alongside the courses, that's when the fun begins. Because these assets not only have a name that tells us what they are, but the track they appear in is also written out in their names. Let's use these 2 tracks to start off with as an example. They don't have too many assets, but they have enough to give us an idea of what they're going to be. If you're familiar with Mario Kart Tour and the city tracks in particular there, you know how they always have those fences with arrows blocking certain pathways. Well, these 2 courses have assets similarly titled fence mub md/or and fence mub md/or arrow. With that information, we know these two are going to be city tracks. And considering the city tracks file names have always been consistent to what their names are when they're released, we can draw the conclusion that these two are Madrid and Orlando respectively. Likewise, can we draw a similar conclusion to mob AT? Because even though it doesn't have any fence assets, it does have pillar assets, under the name Pillar Mob AT. And when I think of pillars, I always think of Acropolis of Athens. And you know what? Athens would be an amazing choice to make a city track out of, with the beautiful scenery and cultural distinctiveness, etc. And that would also give us 3 city tracks, just as many as there are left in the Booster Course Pass roster. I'm gonna guess and put Athens Avenue at the start of the Feather Cup, since feathers are usually associated with wisdom, something Greece was definitely known for back in the antique era. Madrid Maze will be put at the end of the Feather Cup, because I feel like it would be slightly more climactic as an ending track than Athens, with possibly a bullfighting arena. And Orlando Orbit I'll put at the Spinny Cup, since I always saw this city as really big and epic and chaotic, so it would fit for the final cup. Anyways, those were the 3 city tracks. Now we can pass on to the main topic of the video, the brand new unlabeled tracks. That leaves us with the remaining 5 potential original tracks, just as many as the Booster Course Pass roster has left. These will be harder to predict than the city tracks, since the file names may not be abbreviations of their final release names. We'll mostly just have to go by the assets. And we'll start with the course with the most assets ready, and progressively go downward to the more difficult ones. And by far the easiest one to predict is Mob YI.
Yeah, Albert. Why I? Why do you hate I so much?
It's me, not I. And that's a question for another video. This track has by far the most obvious clues as to what kind of track it will be. And there's quite a few of them too. You have assets like arrow signs, shy guys, and even flowering objects. If it wasn't obvious enough, this track is gonna be themed around Yoshi's Island. Even the file name for the track makes it obvious. YI clearly stands for Yoshi's Island. It may not be the final name for the track, but considering how Animal Crossing was treated, I wouldn't be surprised. This track definitely has a lot of potential, like, it may be slightly more calm than the other confirmed original tracks, but it will probably still have a lot of chaotic elements. The flower rings in particular will probably be used for gliding sections. No doubt, this will also be the unlabeled track for the Fruit Cup. Since fruits in Mario are commonly associated with Yoshi, it would be such a missed opportunity if this wasn't a Fruit Cup course. Another track with a lot of assets ready is Mob BR. Now this one is definitely more random and out in the blue than the previous track was. Because with assets datamined like Bath Bomb, Jump Clovespin, and Duck Toy, clues are pointing to a bathroom themed course, which the file name would also confirm, it being BR, possibly standing for bathroom. Or Bathroom Run, that's gonna be my name for it. This will definitely be an interesting track to see unfold, as it's such a random idea. Some people think it will just be part of a big house themed level, but GBA Ribbon Road already kind of did that. And plus, why they make so many bath themed assets then? Personally, I believe it would be logical if we put this track somewhere in Wave 6, the third track of the Spinny Cup to be exact. Because Wave 6 will probably be released sometime in the winter season, it's gonna be cold when it comes out. And what do you do when it becomes cold? You want to get warm. Maybe by taking a bath. For that reason, putting it in this wave was a no-brainer for me. But the reason I chose this particular spot for this track is because I feel like it could be incredibly chaotic with all the assets we know about, and therefore it made the most sense for me to put it in the last cup. Unfortunately, from now on, it becomes much more difficult to narrow down possible tracks. Mob DK is one of those tracks, for example. From what I know, there are no assets associated with this track yet, so we can't really make any guesses from them. The only thing we can go by is the name, and DK is an abbreviation usually only used alongside the Donkey Kong. And yes, on one hand, it would seem repetitive to have 3 Donkey Kong themed tracks in one game, but considering Yoshi had a track to celebrate his video game series, I don't see why DK couldn't have one here as well. It could be more grand, more big than the other DK tracks, maybe include the entirety of DK Island, Or maybe even Crocodile Isle from DKC2. I don't know, but that would be cool. I'm putting DK Land, as I'm gonna call it, in the Cherry Cup, because Donkey Kong is usually associated with the jungle, a very warm biome, and the Cherry Cup, being part of Wave 5, is most likely releasing in the summer, so it felt the most natural to put this track here. A possibly even more difficult track to predict, however, is Mob NU. This course is basically on the opposite of Mob DK in terms of hints. The name tells us absolutely nothing. I can't narrow down NU to anything except maybe Nauru. Fortunately enough, there is one asset that gives us a slight clue: Moray Mob NU. If you don't know what morays are, it's these eels from Super Mario 64 that gave everyone nightmares. So it could be an underwater track, but that's all we really know. Personally, I believe this will be a bit of a spooky track. We don't really have a lot of underwater ghost tracks, and the only one we do have didn't make the underwater section feel natural. Oh wait, there's also GBA Bootleg I almost forgot, which did it fine, but my point still stands. So I think it's about time we get a new one, and this time it will be in an underwater cave to house the moray eels. Introducing Deep Moray Trench, the epic conclusion to the Acorn Cup. And that leaves us with one single track left, Mob MU. I have no idea what it could be. Seriously, there's only one asset to hint us at what it could be, reportedly being an enclosure. How is that supposed to help me?
Dude, it's obviously Mumbai Mobility. M and U. Clearly Mumbai.
Did you miss the part where we have no city tracks left in the course roster?
Oh, just you wait. One of the unlabeled tracks is no doubt gonna be a placeholder. And even then, who said all the Mario Kart Tour city tracks are gonna have to make it into this DLC?
Well, in my opinion at least, it would be incredibly odd if they randomly decided to leave out one Mario Kart track from the DLC. Besides, what do enclosures have to do with Mumbai? I mean, what could it be? Enclosure would imply a place where animals are roaming, but we already have a bunch of farm-themed tracks in the series, one of which, Wee Moo Moo Meadows, is already in this game. How do you make farm-themed stages stand out? Well, guess what? I suddenly got the idea while writing out this paragraph. Imagine a typical farmland with plains, a barn, you know, sunny summerland, but then give it the opposite feeling to that. Fog everywhere, not a sign of life anywhere, desaturated grass. Yeah, I know that might sound random, and maybe a bit dark for a Mario game, but what else should I do at this point? I personally think that Murky Meadows would be a unique idea, and possibly the third course of the Acorn Cup, as a nice spooky warm-up to the real deal in Deep Moray Trench. And that, my dear friends, were all of my predictions for the unlabeled tracks in the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe Booster Course Pass, plus the 3 unconfirmed city tracks. But what are your ideas for the unlabeled track spots? If you enjoyed this video, make sure you like, share and subscribe to my channel as I talk about everything Mario related. With that being said, I'm signing off.